live on YouTube.
Fantastic. Hey guys, we're going to go ahead and get started then. Let me share the screen. Today we're going to be talking about something that's incredibly. All right, you gotta let me share the screen there, peeps. Can y'all allow me? Y'all disable.
We're making sure
Okay.
you're. Takes a second, 1 sec. I thought I already made you a co-host. No, someone else maybe just did. Nope. Here you go. Go ahead, buddy.
All right. Well,
It'll takes a second, but now you should be able to. There you go.
All right, perfect. Okay, guys, today we're going to talk about something that's incredibly important to you in your future as well as us. And after I get through talking about what I'm getting ready, our topic today, I'm going to go over our 5 or 6, top fundings for the week that I just picked out at random at different cost points, just to go over, how they're using the funds and that sort of thing. But today we're going to talk about state financial disclosure laws. All throughout the country, more and more states are implementing these commercial financing disclosure bills that they're actually putting into law. And we're going to go over some of these states and how do these changing state regulations actually affect you, the broker agent. And this is real important for you to listen real closely to today. I went ahead and put up some of the information that's involved in just the New York financing law that's out there. And these are some FAQs that I put up. And number one is, as a broker or as an organization like Bank Breezy, we're going to ask, well, what does the required New York disclosure really include? Well, it includes the funding amount when you make an offer. A small separate disclosure is going to be provided showing the subtraction of the origination fees, if they have any amounts being withheld to pay other outstanding funders have to be included. And this is whether it's a renewal or not. You got to have an APR for loans or estimated equivalent APR for MCAs. You got to have finance charges and fees. You got to have total payback remittance amounts. You got to have monthly payback remittance totals. You got to have the number of payments and remittances. You got to have term length of the contract and additional explanation and all the additional explanatory statements that the lenders provide us at Bank Breezy that you're not going to get from them if you are a direct agent. And you got to do this in a fashion that does not violate state law. Now, I want you to note that many of these terms may seem confusing, like estimated APR. I mean, it is very confusing if you figure out what that is. New York is requiring these regardless of how the industry has typically described or called some of these concepts out. So if you don't know these and you don't have the written disclosures when these official offers and everything are made, you're going to be in some trouble. Number two, we want to know, well, how's this going to affect our commission? Do we have to put what the commission is on the statement? The answer is in that state, no. Well, what happens if they only submit 3 bank statements? Well, I get an offer. Well, all the lenders require 4 statements that we do business with, and that's part of the state law. Not only do you have to provide 2 statements, but you also got to provide 2 offers. I mean, 4 statements, but you got to provide 2 offers, and those 2 offers have to be different offers. I mean, substantially different. So we, with our providers, except one, they always provide us with the 2 different offer categories. But there are a couple of you out there that are contracted with some big organizations out there that fund. They'll make an offer to anybody, but won't fund very many. They don't give you 2 offers, and you have to understand what their rate system is to be able to give those 2 offers. And we do understand that. So if they're the only ones that make an offer, I'm able lower that offer and come up with a second offer because I understand what their rates are. And I understand whether, I mean, on that particular file, I don't have to know what they're going to charge. I just already know because I already have all the financial information I need from that lender up front. How will I be notified if I'm missing the statement? Well, your deal is going to be placed on hold for incomplete application. You're going to receive an on hold email notification, and this is for any agent broker who collects bank statements. I'm talking about that's what you're going to receive from the lenders. And Bank Breezy doesn't want any broker's business that's collecting their own business funding deals. In other words, I don't want you sending us statements anymore. Some of you continue to send statements to us that you pick up, that you get. Some of you are even continually sending to submissions paper copies of old DAC applications that don't have all the disclosures we have on right now. That's a problem. Number 5, we want to know, will there be any additional delays in the funding process? You know, it's not going to change the actual process because the process starts once we got all 4 months in house. And then does this apply to businesses organized in New York or just operating in New York? The disclosure requirements apply to any business that is principally directed or managed from New York. They may have a business in California, but they're managed out of New York. And you got to know these things when you're out there looking at all these state laws that are emerging all over the country. And it's not just New York and New Jersey and California, Virginia, Missouri. I mean, it's going on everywhere now. And we like it because it's kind of eliminating the competition, the smaller brokerage firms out there that are little boutique firms that don't really have much money. Those firms are getting some investment money and putting things on the street, but they're the ones that seem to be those ISO groups are confusing everybody, and they're not telling the truth. They get involved in a lot of this trigger lead stuff. Some of these other states that are out there, like Maryland, they've introduced the commercial financing transaction bill. This bill is the latest iteration of a multi-year campaign they've had. It's kind of aimed at restricting how MCA brokers and agents conduct their business. I mean, it's needed in the industry because of what agents are out there saying and doing. Georgia and Florida, they're both in the process of this type of legislation. Mississippi, it died on their first vote, but they're not going to quit. But right now, New York, California, Utah, and Virginia have all passed their bills, and they are in effect. And some of them go in effect on August 1st, but we're treating them as if they're in effect today. But I want you to know, and I've already talked to David Allen Capital, to David Rutz about this. If you're a broker agent in any of these states that currently have financial disclosure notifications or laws in place or pending, I don't want you to provide. We don't want to provide you copies of. We're never going to provide you copies of the client offers. A lot of you ask for these offers that are doing business in these states, and I just can't give them to you. I can't send. I send offers all the time to certain agents that we have because I trust them. But I can't send the offers in those states because if I send you a generic offer, you don't have all those disclosures, and you forward that to your client, you just broke the law. And look, I'm not sure that how much they're enforcing it, but I got a feeling, based on everything I know, that they're going to make examples out of people, and we don't want to be that example because of a rogue agent. So if you're a broker agent in any of these states that currently have financial disclosures laws in place or they're pending, and you represent other lender groups and other ISOs outside of David Allen Capital, we don't want you to ever send us an application at all, really, in those states, because we don't know if you're going to go to 1 or 2 different brokerage groups like Bank Breezy and David Allen Capital, and you go to another one and they don't give you the right disclosures and you do it wrong. We don't want to be in the mix of all that. So when speaking with any of our clients in states where there are current financial disclosure laws on the books, you can't talk about rates. You can't talk about term. You can't talk about price for the client. That's what we do. because you don't know what the rates are and all that. But even if you do know what the rates are, you still can't, you don't need to be giving them a guesstimate of what you think the rates are going to be. And I want you to allow Bank Breezy to do their job and not get involved in the area of rates, terms, pricing, presenting, or gathering of documents. You can talk to the clients with all the information that's on the David Allen Capital page. There's so much. You got connect cards. You can do all that. You don't have to get involved in.
Wait, if I could just add something.
Okay.
Agents, you are not allowed to. It's not that you don't have to. David Allen Capital is not going to take the risk of you guys misbehaving. You're not allowed to collect documents. You're not allowed to present offers. Bank Breezy is not giving you the offer to present, and we're making it all being uploaded through the through the system. So just so that, Wade, I appreciate your politeness in this and trying to be considerate of some of your experienced relationships. For the general masses out there, if you're a DAC agent, you're not allowed to collect packages. And if you are, don't represent and don't submit them to DAC or Bank Breezy. Hopefully that's clear. Thanks. Go ahead, Wade.
Yep. All right. Now we're going to talk about the weekly funded spotlight, and then we'll take questions. These are in no particular order. We got tons and tons and tons and tons of funded deals this week, but these are some that I thought I know a lot about. One is a landscaping and irrigation company in Virginia, which, by the way, is one of those states with that disclosure law. They borrowed $35,000 for new equipment, and it makes perfect sense because this is the time of year that landscape is booming. So if I were you, I'd be finding all of those that I can get my hands on. Then we have a wellness spa in North Carolina. They need a couple spa beds and some kind of type of a water system in that particular area, and so they borrowed $25,000 to do that. A commercial glass company, again, this is a New York-based company. They borrowed $50,000 for additional materials because of a new contract they just signed. They knew that they were going to be getting a lot of inventory requests, and so they made the decision to borrow that money. We got a pizzeria in New Jersey, $60,000 for a fourth location. I put down this is the 8th renewal they've had. It's actually either the 9th or the 10th renewal. These guys are booming, and this agent is working his renewals like a job, but he's not getting involved in rates. He's not getting involved in terms. He's just saying, hey, he's making sure they got all the funding they need. A staffing company in Delaware got $35,000 line of credit draw because they need to hire additional staff. And by the way, lines of credit are here. They're happening. They're working. I think they're trying to be more open in certain states for these lines of credit. So we can do the best we can do, and as long as they've got really good credit, they're going to be able to still get lines of credit. What we're not going to be able to do is stack lines of credit and funding anymore because the line of credit companies just don't want us to do that. And then again, we have a beauty salon in Virginia, and they got $15,000, and I misspelled beauty, excuse me there, but there's $15,000 for more inventory. So these are our spotlights for the week, and you're welcome to use any of these spotlights that you wish.
Hey, buddy, before you go to questions, I know you're going to questions now. May I make
Yes.
a comment real quick?
Oh, absolutely.
I just got confirmation that the Bank Breezy app sequence by the end of this week will require the 4 months bank statements if they're in one of those states. It may be sooner than by the end of this week. I was told it'll be done today, but I'm telling everyone by the end of the week, because you know how that is. Once you test, it may delay things. So if they're in one of those states, don't worry about it. We'll reach out to them to let them know if they need another bank statement, but by the time anyone's watching this video on replay, it'll already be live. So thanks for bringing that to everyone's attention. Start telling people maybe 4 months bank statements, because I think more and more states are going to continue to spread this, and they'll know at the time of application whether they need 3 or 4 as they're filling out the application.
Amen.
That's all I wanted to say, buddy. Good stuff.
No problem. Well, that's my 15 minutes of knowledge. Anybody have any questions at all they have about anything we covered today? Miss Ellen. Go ahead, Morgan, you can.
Yep, I requested to unmute you, Ellen. Let me know if you aren't seeing that. There we go.
Thank you. Finally got it that time. Hey, Wade, thank you. As always, great information. I wanted you to address something that you stated. You referenced trigger leads. Can you elaborate on that, on this particular training? I had just had that recently with a client from one of my agents.
Right. Well, you get these ISO groups, and usually it's the small ones that claim they're funders, and they're really not funders. They're partnering with other lender groups that actually fund the deals. Every once in a while, and I don't even think most of those small ones have enough money to put in there in the first place to help fund, but or syndicate with them. So these are the groups that go out and they buy these trigger leads from the credit bureau. A trigger lead it's a lead that's been triggered by someone at the credit bureau, by someone who has applied for any type of funding at all. Not necessarily through MCA type funding or lines of credit, but it could be any type of funding. And then these vultures kind of jump in and make a phone call, because they do have all the information from the credit bureau on that person, including phone numbers. What they don't have are bank statements. That's why they do a bank verification. Yeah, we got your bank statements, we got everything. And then they'll send them a bank link, and that way they can get everything verified. And yeah, they got the bank statements now because they did the verification. So these are people that are just calling your folks that have applied and telling them, yeah, I'm with Bank Breezy or David Allen Capital, and they're not. And we got your file, we're working on it, and we're the direct lenders. This happens day in and day out. Now, some direct lenders literally do it too. And they honestly have the right to do that, but they don't have the bank statements unless they're sent to them, because the credit bureau isn't giving bank statements out. So that's what a trigger lead is. It's triggered by someone from the credit bureau by someone who has applied for some type of funding that triggers out a lead. They are selling for crazy money.
Awesome. Thanks for that explanation.
It's never originated by us, guys. It's always a credit bureau. So they may
Never
say Bank
us.
Breezy sold my information, or Bank Breezy sold my referral, and they didn't. I had a personal client just decline an offer today, decided not to proceed with funding. They'll probably get calls in the next day or two. So I told them, by the way, don't be surprised if you hear from, people are buying from the credit bureaus. Just like when you apply for a loan for a car, you start hearing from all the insurance companies. And if you have a baby, you start hearing from all the life insurance providers and stuff. So it's the credit bureaus selling them, not us.
And also one step further, when these folks move over to these trigger lead folks, they may do a hard credit pull on them too. And that's why you hear so many people throughout the industry say, well, my goodness, my credit went down. Well, yeah, it went down, but we didn't pull it. We don't have one single lender that does a hard pull. We don't do business with those lenders. Those lenders that do hard pulls are going to affect your credit. And if if you're an agent out there and you're representing anybody besides DAC and you're sending this to all these places, don't be surprised if they get quite a few credit pulls.
Thank you for the great response, and keep up the good work, Mr. Appreciate you.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, next up, we have Christopher Sanchez. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Wade, always a pleasure listening to you when you want to share with us. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, man.
My question is actually, I'm not sure it's for you or for David. Is there anything we can put in place to prevent DAC from getting involved with any litigation from agents that are misrepresenting themselves? I understand we already have it in our agreement, but is there another step we could take? Because I just came across this talking to some business out here. They had said, well, I was just speaking with a DAC agent, but they submitted me to other places. And I said, I need to have their name. They says, we're not going to give you their name, but just to let you know, there is somebody here in Michigan doing that. So again, I'm not sure if this would be for you or for David to address, but
I'm gonna
it's
let
almost like,
David.
go ahead.
Yeah, let me address it. DAC has been sued 8 times. I think they're all frivolous, frankly, but all 8 times has been a complaint of what DAC has done that we've never done. And a couple times it was something agents did. And they throw this lawsuit at us corporate wide because our logo was used or the replicated site was used. That's why we have such a strong stance on you can't advertise as David Allen Capital, you can't advertise DAC, Bank Breezy, because you represent yourself as a corporate officer. You can't say you're an employee of, your logo's got to say independent agent. We need that protection because if ever an agent does violate the laws, at least we can remove ourselves from liability and the agent will take all the liability. Wade's trying to protect you all. My video saying you cannot, us saying we present offers, us not having an application where we accept bank statements. We only require them to be uploaded. We don't contact a mobile number unless they've acknowledged that we can contact them in a mobile. Now, if you do something as an agent or someone else does, they're liable. Now, we may still be pulled into something, but we'll fight it and defend ourselves to show independence from it. The only thing we can do to prevent ourselves is not be a business owner. I mean, you can't be a business owner and have independent agents without risk. And if I find out people, when I talk to someone and they skirt the rules a little bit, something unrelated to funding, I don't want them in our company. If they're asking me to violate a rule on the pay plan, I don't want them in the company. I don't care what they can produce. I don't want people who are willing to modify and compromise to gain because there's no limit to them. And that's where lawsuits can come in because they'll know the rule and violate it anyway. And so when we find a people who violate it, we terminate them. And that's why we have such a strong termination policy, and our compliance department is reaching out regularly. So there's nothing that we know of. As we learn of things, we put them in place. But right now, that's why Bank Breezy team is the only one submitting offers. They're not going to give pricing to any agents of DAC. It's just not going to be given. What's the pricing? We're not telling you. We'll tell your client. Well, I want to know because they're my client. Then don't submit deals to us anymore. Condition of us presenting or us working with you is we present the offer to your client, not you. And if you don't want that, that's fine. But you can't be a independent agent with DAC. So that helps us, as you can imagine.
Well, and one thing, David, there's no, we're not trying to put fear in you. There's no fear here. As long as you do what you're doing, use the Connect cards, get your clients in, everything you're doing won't involve what this law is talking about. Just let us do our job. You do your job, get the client, and then after you do that and submit it, go get another one.
Yep. You collect documents, you pull credit scores, you present offers, you now got to watch your back, and you better be you are violating laws if you're in certain states. So as long as you know, and we don't allow you to do it with us, you may go somewhere else and find an agreement somewhere else where they let you do all that, but you're putting yourself at risk. We just won't allow you here. So no fear as long as you do it our way.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff, Wade.
All right. And next up, we've got Nick Dehame. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
All right. Can you hear me?
Boy, that's about 3 generations on the screen at one time, wasn't it? Me, David, and you.
Can you hear me? Am I coming through?
You are.
All righty. Awesome, Wade. Great call, great information, David and the team. No, I just wanted to piggyback on what David said. I don't want to make something, but about the trigger leads, but that David mentioned about his clients that declined the offer, and he brought it to his attention just to be, just to be careful. They may be reaching out to him. And also, I just want to add on that even our funded clients, that to bring, if an agent has a funded client and you have a relationship with them, just let them know that they may also get a call in a few weeks or a month and a half, and they may be letting them know that they're eligible to receive additional funding. So you want to bring that, if you have a relationship with your client, I suggest, and it's what I do. I let them know, hey, listen, you may be receiving a call from someone else, from one of these trigger leads, that it sometimes happens, unfortunately, from the credit bureaus that sell the information. But I just want to let you know, if you're ever in need of additional funding at any given point, just let me know. We're going to take care of you. And also, what I always let them know, hey, you're a client with us. You're establishing a relationship with all of the lenders we represent in Bank Breezy, and Bank Breezy has a personal relationship with each lender. So every time we're going to go out of the way and get you the best offer. And if you need more, we'll get you more. So I just wanted to throw that out, and just for any other agent also to bring to their attention to their clients.
Great job, man. Thanks.
All right. Next up, we have the Matster. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
On the heels of the Nixter. So generational gaps here notwithstanding, I'm actually, Wade, can you see that flag behind me? Can you tell me what state that is underneath Old Glory?
No idea.
You're
Not
breaking
South
up.
Carolina. That's
No,
all
it's
I know.
not South Carolina. But I'm not in Texas, the Jersey Shore. So let me get right to it. David's still on the line, I hope. And I really want to, this is from the heart here. I'm thinking, and I'm listening, and I'm getting the sense of the big picture, and where the industry's going and all that with these disclosure things with the states. Why in the world would we have any agents with DAC, Bank Breezy with DAC, that are submitting to any other lending providers? I really think that we ought to just cut that off, make it part of just a restriction. You just can't be a DAC agent if you're submitting and you're competing. You're kind of like, I mean, it's the potential for danger for all of us. If they do that, I wish that we could just eliminate that and make that part of our own agreement, the prohibitive nature of our agreement with any agent. Just can't do it because it's going to mess us up. And I'm sure those lawsuits are coming from those guys that are just out there using us. They don't care about our vision. They don't care about our, they're just self-centered. And I really think we don't want those people. But anyways, that's just throwing it out there for David, in light of what I'm listening to, because we've invested. I mean, I'm committed to this, as Nick is, and I'm sure Ellen and several others on here are just not going to allow that to persist. So hopefully we can find a way to prohibit and prevent that. I say circumvent or just unilaterally preempt. Okay, back to, and this is just great. I'm telling you, the fact that I'm here in the United States is kind of neat. And it's a different perspective, guys. I think this is the word. I just want to throw this out. I'm not long-winded crap, but just want to say that there's a value in getting a different perspective on anything. You can look at something from a different way, now physically here. And I do this in my mind. Nick's in Argentina. He's going to be here soon, next week. But when you get here, it's kind of like, okay, now I see, there's a contractor working at my sister's house where I'm staying. A roofer, you can have these conversations, and it's not different than the phone. I mean, it's the same thing, but you're more engaged. So I'm just going to say this: when you're personally talking to somebody, you're effectively conveying that information, what you're doing, what you're representing. But now it's in a physical sense. You've got to be confident. You've got to have your eye contact. You've got to talk to them and say, "This is what I do." If it's from your heart, they're going to sense it. If they sense, I'm just a salesperson. Here's my card. They're going to throw it in the garbage. So that's the whole point. I just want to say that it's great to be here. I had one other thing to mention, but I guess, that's it. Oh, yes. So having to do with, new renewals and develop the relationship that Nick, ironically, mentioned about the trigger leads. I give them Wade's when they apply. I say, look, you're going to get likely massive calls and inundated with these other fake offers from these desperate, and you got to use the terms. Wade used the term vulture. I would say opportunists that generally bend the truth to earn your business. We won't do that. And if they hear that from you up front, when they get that call that's not from an 803 area code from our senior funding officer, Wade or Brad, or 803, you give them that number. I say, just look, if you get a number 803, that's us. Bank Breezy, just wait. So I've kind of gone out of my way to do that because of, trial and error and just losing, to the trigger leads in the past. I won't do that again. So I'll just do what I have to do to make sure they know. And there's a value in that, and say, listen, I understand why they do it, but it's, it's unfortunate. It's not our fault. The credit bureau agencies sell your name, unfortunately, even if you went to the bank, right, and took out a loan. So just be aware and know, and Nick mentioned it perfectly, that Wade's got the relationship with all of these lenders. They want to deal with us because, and this is what I say over and over again, guys, this helps me. It helps my client only want to deal with me. And for this little competitive advantage we have over everybody, this is your competitive advantage. Here it is, the default rate. Wade, you can nod yes or no, you agree with me or not. The default rate for us, because the agents are on the ground, know the client, they don't default. So because our default rate's so low, and I tell the client this, and because of our dynamic broker network in all 50 states, thousands, right? And they know the business owner, and they can relate to this because I'm talking to them, if they know me personally or not, other than a few phone calls or direct contact. But I say most of our agents know the business owner, so they pay. And because of that, our lending partners love us. So they're going to give you the best offer. There's no point in going anywhere else anyway. So they get that. They connect the dots, A to B to C. Oh, okay. Now I won't take another call from anybody else, even if they get them. So that's the way to circumvent it. You can take responsibility proactively and nip that sucker in the bud right up front. And now they want to deal with you. And there's another last thing. I'm just going to say this. I'm getting pumped up. I'm going to want to get out. I think about why I was so successful in my previous business. I was in gold and the whole thing, investments. It's because I got excited about what I was doing and I was busy, and people hear it. They don't want to deal with you if they think, you're desperate. They want to deal with people that are busy. And it's a weird thing. I told my sales staff a long time ago, I said, guess why they want to deal with you? Because you're busy. And the fact that you're busy means that you're doing something good or doing something, right? You're active. They don't want to deal with somebody like, hunting, right? We're busy. Listen, I got a little time for you. It's a balance. So get busy, create the momentum by getting active and getting people calling you and getting busy. It just begats this interesting little dynamic of an energy that they want to deal with you. They just sense it. I can sense when I'm somebody's, salesperson calling me. They're so, okay, they're desperate, using a script. No. Don't be that person. Start something, get an activity going, whether it's an email campaign or something, and get people calling you or call out, and just start that little boom, that juggernaut, and then bam, that's it. Done. I just had to throw that out.
Thank you, man.
Love it.
Appreciate
You're
everything you said.
That's it.
Well done.
All right, next up, we have John Arthur Moore. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, I was wondering, in the states where they require the forced statements, does that also mean that the lender is no longer going to look at 3 months back, but they're going to look at 4 months back?
That's correct. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. That was it.
Okay. Thank you.
Good clarification, John.
All right, next up, Pamela. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Now we
Yes.
can.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was talking. And you may have mentioned this in the very beginning. I had a minute to try to get connected. As far as the interest rates, when you were talking about those, I know that the feds, of course, are talking about raising those again. How does that impact us with the lenders? I'm assuming that usually is going to be passed on to our customers. So when they start asking about, when they're talking about that the rate's too high or something like that, basically
Okay.
we can push back on the Federal Reserve, basically saying that, well, they're raising the rates.
Well, first of all, we're not interest-based, we're factor-based, and
Well, I know.
yeah, and the only reason we have to talk about APR is because the state legislators require it. And
Mhm.
it's a very complicated formula to come up with the correct APR. When you look at that whenever you're when you're sending out a file, you think, oh my God, look at that rate. It's really not the true rate. That's based on compounding, this, that, and the other. Just remember that all of these, and really the rates that the Fed money probably doesn't have a lot to do with a big change in what the cost of funds are. It's a risk-based funding thing. And then for example, some of the lenders have what they call warehouse money. And that means that in a lot of those cases that they got the money, they turn it over to them. Let's say they turn $10 million. Well, they're going to start paying 12 points on the money, whether they got it on the street or not. And that 12 points on the money of payments is based on an interest rate of 12, or maybe it could go up to 13 or 14. That has a little bit of ripple effect in our thing. But the point is, they got to get that money on the street as soon as they can and let it make money for them. So really, what the Feds do or don't have a lot to do with it. It's really risk factors and what's happening industry wide. They look at the trends. That's why right now it's almost impossible, or it is impossible pretty much, to get lines of credit for construction and trucking and that sort of thing, when we used to be able to do that. And it's because of what's happening in the industry for that. So the ebbs and flows of the industry really have everything to do with how things are rated and what the experience that particular lender that makes the offer has in that particular industry. I just got an email in regards to tobacco shops. Well, that's prohibited with many lenders, and yet this one lender says, "Hey, man, that's our wheelhouse. We're gonna get you a great rate on this one." So it's just crazy how it can be so different from one space to the other, from one lender to the other, but they all specialize in certain sectors of the industry.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Ian. I know we use the factor rates. I just, the clients, they always want to refer to the APRs, which you kind of have to dance around, but thank you for that information.
Thanks. And really, you don't really have to dance around them if you let me handle it, because that's the easiest. When they talking about interest rates, that's the easy. If I could get just that as an objection, we would never have someone who wasn't funded that we made an offer to.
All right. Next up, we have V. Wright. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, thanks. Hello, everyone. I have 2 quick questions, and they're for Dave or whomever else might be able to answer them. Again, I'm new to this, and I'm basically just trying to do my due diligence and do the foundational work, and that informs my 2 questions. The first one is, are those drop cards available yet? I couldn't find them when I went through my little agent portal.
Yeah, they're available in the Agent Resource Center under marketing.
I didn't see them. I'll look again.
Yeah, they are there. And your welcome letter, sorry, 1 minute. Your welcome letter also, I believe, has a link to the direct page for ordering them.
Yeah, that link is no good. But I went directly to my page. I've looked under marketing twice. I saw something about the website, but I didn't see anything.
Tyler,
about
I apologize for cutting you off. I'm sorry. We may have moved it. Tyler, can you please share where it's at on the site for everyone's knowledge if you're listening right now? And we'll take the next question. If you can find
I
exactly
can answer
where
that
it is.
right now. If you go to the homepage and you scroll down, you'll see new Connect cards. It says that they're still in beta mode. But you can click order now from there.
It's about halfway down the homepage, about halfway down. Scroll.
Homepage of the Agent Resource Center. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Okay, yeah. Second question. I on the biz funding Zoom, Dave, you presented 2 slides. One was email to form new relationships, and the other one was email for biz capital to form new relationships. And I'm wondering, are they an update? Is there one an update? Because there's pretty much the same flow, but the differences are, in one, there's same day funding, and the other, it's noted that there's a soft credit pull. And then the other one mentions that, oh yes, we want to help your I forget what kind of business, your B business or something, but it
Yeah.
does not mention it mentions the up to 25K, and it does not mention the soft pull. So like, what's the difference between those two slides?
And I'm going to answer that in 1 second, but let's go to James to see if James has a question for Wade. I want him to be able to get back to taking care of the clients and funding. We wanted to keep these to a half hour, and we've had a lot of questions. So why don't we go to James, and V, we'll come back to you and I'll answer that.
Okay.
Good question, by the way, V. James, what do you got, buddy? You're unmuted.
Hey, Wade, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, happy Wednesday, everybody. Yes, indeed. Okay, on the trigger lead thing, when someone calls in, that's an uncontrollable thing, you know, because they're saying, you know, whatever they're saying. So we can't really do anything about that. But any communication that comes from someone that is working a trigger lead, Wade, I heard you say that they got to send them a link for the bank statement. Well, if that's the case, all the communication that a client would get from Bank Breezy, if they have a special folder or have filters in their email, it'll show as Bank Breezy as the sender. So would it make sense to kind of, you know, mention to our client that, you know, if you create a filter, if you create a folder for Bank Breezy, anything that's coming there that's not from us, you know, it's not us.
Well, I think the answer to your question is anything they can send direct because they'll have the email and it won't be from Bank Breezy. So there's no clearing the filters to prevent that, except for telling them that if it's not from a Bank Breezy email, that it's not from us. But yeah, I mean, those folks, when they get the trigger lead, they're going to have their email, so they can send it direct to them.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we mention to our client that any communication that you get from whoever, whenever, okay, when they send the link for bank verification, if it's not from Bank Breezy, then you know it's not us.
Well, here's the problem with that. Some of the lenders send the links themselves directly to them, but I always inform, listen, nobody ever gets a link from a lender that haven't already spoken to me over the phone or and through email. They know where it's coming from. They know the lender it's coming from, the email, they know all this, because that would be a disaster if we didn't, because we always phrase it as partnership. So our partnership, the lending, I mean, the funding department with our partnership at Vox Funding will be sending this. So they always know when we clarify that. So there's never going to be a confusion. But if they come, a lot of them come directly from lenders. So that's why we have to just be very informative with our clients.
Yeah, and Wade, I appreciate you being here, buddy. I know you got to jump. Thanks for doing this each week
Thanks,
for us.
man.
Thank you. I'm going to add a comment to what you just said, and then I'm going to answer V's question. Wade, I appreciate you, man. Aren't we blessed to have him? I was talking to, there's a company called Credibly, which is a funding partner of ours. We don't do a whole lot of funding with them. They want us to do more. They happen to be headquartered here in Michigan. So I had coffee with them this morning, and they were just talking about the quality of Wade Cordell and our internal team, Brad, Lindsay, Allie at Bank Breezy, who look at every package before we send them, and the quality of all of you guys. Our default rate is unheard of, as Matt was saying. So, and it's because of Wade and his team. I mean, what you're seeing right there, if you get on the phone with most underwriters, they don't have the experience Wade has. And so he can sense things and pull things off because of that. And many of our agents have more experience than some of these underwriters. So that's the great news. But to answer the question before about the trigger leads, keep in mind, they got to call them first. They're not just emailing them. Once in a while, they may email them, but they're not going to just email them a bank link verification. There'd be a phone call that goes out and saying, hey, we just got your application. That's what they say. We just got your application, and it'll come from an area code that's not South Carolina or Michigan, which is great that you know that. Great point, Matt. Great point. Look at the caller ID. I love it because they'll mislead and they'll say they're calling from Bank Breezy, or they won't say. They'll go, yeah, we just got your funding package, and the customer will go, oh, you mean from David Allen Capital? Yeah, from David Allen Capital, and they'll lie. So they don't always know who you applied with. We don't report it. right? The Bank Breezy never sends out a credit pull to the credit reporting bureaus. Never. We don't. We send it off to the different providers. They do the pull. So if they mention Bank Breezy, it's not true, right? We don't do a pull and they can't guess that. So if your customer said they knew, they didn't know, they were able to manipulate your customer into saying where they're applying at. But with all that said, it doesn't happen often. It just I think Matt and Nick both gave great counsel, as did Wade, on how to be a professional. Mention it happens, stay ahead of it for renewals. You know, Matt is the individual who got that 8th or 9th renewal today. I mean, he made 8% of a $60,000 funding. That's, what is that? It's $4,800, right, Matt? You got it today. That's pretty darn good, and got more, and that's a renewal. So that's pretty darn good for taking care of that customer long-term, helping them build another location, which we become their source of funds for more locations. And because Matt's taking care of his partnership client there. So you don't worry about trigger leads if you've got a relationship. You should if you don't have a relationship. You know they're going to be possibly getting a call if you're just doing advertising. But to answer your question, the scripts aren't scripts that you should copy word for word. Okay. Those are examples of conversations, and things change. Like you'll see some scripts that say, we may need 3 months bank statements. Those are immediately outdated, right? So just they're common sense posturing of what you want to communicate to a client. You know, that customer of mine today that said, I'm not interested in taking the funding. I think that that pricing wouldn't be good for my business. I said, I completely understand. Do you have collateral you'd want to put up? Because I can refer you to the president of our local bank, because it's a local business. I can refer you to there and they'll take good care of you if you're willing to put up collateral. Now, I know she doesn't have collateral, but I'm just showing that your options, without saying it, we just gave you your best funding option. If this isn't good for you, you should not take on a loan. If you're just looking for money, bridge money, and you don't have a business model that's getting to profitability, you should not take money from anybody. You should modify what you're doing in your business to cut expenses and raise sales. But you shouldn't take money as to kick the can down the road. Strategize differently. Don't take funds. So, but by posturing it and just not posturing in a negative, manipulative way, but I didn't have to say, this is your only option. I said, no problem. I'll introduce you to an option where we can get you funding as long as you're willing to put up collateral. And as soon as she says, I don't want to put up collateral, I don't have collateral to put up, the discussion can continue. But if it's not good cost of capital for her, she shouldn't proceed. So V, those scripts are not 100% accurate word for word what you should say. Those are written at 2 different time periods. One was written when the instant funding 25K was created. Another one was written, for our regular funding. So they're just ideas of how to initiate conversations. All right. Don't take the details specifically. Now we can go through and update those, and we're updating all of our training so that it's more accurate to today's terms. But that's why I like bullet points that don't share any details, because the bottom line is you meet, greet, and inform. So get informed on our funding. And then how would you meet, greet, and inform? My daughter just had, and I'm going to end with this because of time for everybody's sake. My daughter just had a graduation party, and we greeted, we didn't have to meet any of them. We greeted and informed a lot of people about her graduation party. We use text for some, we use Facebook social for others, we use invitations mailed out by others, we use phone calls for others, we used every method. No one had to give us a script. We informed people. If you just need to inform people you're in business funding. You need to inform people we can get them instant funding up to 10K in under 10 minutes. You need to inform people, and V, I'm not just speaking to you, I'm just going with everyone. You need to inform people you can get them revenue-based funding in under a week up to $2 million. I mean, you can get them an offer in usually a day or two. So you inform people that the cost is generally 1.3 to 1.5 times what they get. What's the APR? You don't know anything more about that. You just know it's going to cost them 1.3 to 1.5 generally of what they get. And what does that mean? You get 10,000, you're going to pay back 13 to 15. But the interest rates don't matter at that point. You're not presenting offers, you're giving highlights. That's all you need to meet, greet, and inform on. Now, how you do that, take those texts and say, oh, I like how that was phrased. I like how that was phrased. Go out to Chat GPT and ask them, how would you, text someone about business funding? I mean, just all you're doing is looking. What'd my daughter say to invite people? I don't know. What's she going to say in her thank you letters? I don't know. She's going to thank people. She doesn't need a script. She needs to, from her heart, want to thank people for coming to her graduation. And from her heart, she wanted to invite people and encourage they attend if they want to, out of honoring their relationship they had. So hopefully, V, that helps. And we'll try to clean up the consistency of the training scripts. If you're seeing they're a little different, they're dated. So we'll try to clean up the consistency. With that, great comments, everybody, today. I don't like jumping on these because they can turn long, and these 15-minute bites are amazing. Well done.